So thank you very much all for coming. It's wonderful to see the room so full. This is the room where we're standing is the Muse Collection stand. We are programming partners of the AIPAD Fair, and it has been a real pleasure and honor to be programming partners of this such a wonderful fair for photography. So we thank all of you for coming, and I'm just going to introduce you to Richard Gorsbart, who's the advisor for the Muse Collection, and he's helped us put this show together and helps us every day with our program and mission. So thank you very much, Richard, and thank you all of you for being here to the AIPAD Fair. And I'm going to leave you to these two wonderful speakers for the joy of collecting. And I'm actually going to pass the word to David Scheinbaum, who's going to introduce you to the talk. Thank you very much again, and please make sure to come and see the show after the talk.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you have a program, I am not Andra Rusick, who is scheduled to do this talk, but I'm filling in for her today. The microphone.
Hold it closer to your mouth.
Could you hear me now? Is that better? All right. Well, let's start by being respectful, and I'll lead the way to turn off our phones. And I think that will help everybody and all that. And I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank AIPAD for putting together these talks. But specifically, as a dad, my daughter Andra is on the education committee with Arnica and a number of other hardworking people. And I don't know if Andra would have said this, but I would like to really acknowledge the work that goes into all of the educational activities that happen around the fair. And I could tell you firsthand, there's almost daily meetings all year long planning these events. So this is an amazing turnout. I know they're very proud that you're here, and I thank you for coming. I also know that there is a booth down the hall that has set up where you could see some of the past talks. They've been recorded, as will this event be recorded. And if you have time, I think it's in booth 232. So if you want to see some of the former events that have happened. You're all in for kind of a really an amazing hour or so today with these two gentlemen. You know, collecting is something we all do. And I know you know that if you're in a house like mine, you know, the main gallery of my house is my refrigerator. And if you think about the pictures and the things we hang, or the new piece of furniture you have, or the new piece of art you just purchased, you know, collecting is not just an activity. It's a fingerprint, almost. It's who you are. You know, I know when I go to someone's home, I first usually look at the bookshelves, and then I walk around and look at the walls. And it might be the first time I'm meeting that person, but I learned so much about them by looking at what they live with and what their passion is. And it's all right there, pretty much on the bookshelves and the walls. The collection is a reflection of who you are. We have two gentlemen here who have a passion for photography, but it's not just buying photographs. It's buying photographs that represent who they are, their beliefs, possibly their politics. It's all right there. And when you're at that level, you know, it's a mission. It's a mission, and, you know, not to be morbid, but it's a legacy as well. It's a legacy that lives on forever, to know who these people were and what are the works that they've gathered. Bill I've known forever, 30-something years, 40 years, long time. He's an amazing person. Loves photography, loves people, and you know, so much of what we do as artists and collectors is intuitive. But to have two people here who could articulate what they do, why do we buy what we buy? Why do we have what we have? It's a really rare treat. John, I don't really know as well, but I've seen him at every AIPAD. I mean, Janet and I have been doing this fair for 30-something years, and I think he's walked through our booth every single year. So as much as I'm not going to bother reading all these bios, I'm going to try to turn it over to them. But John Bennett, Bill Hunt, two rare individuals, two amazing collectors, two amazing collections, and you have a treat. And to really take advantage of it, I hope they'll leave some time for you to ask some questions, because to really ask them the things that you want to know about your collection, about your future, you have two experts here. So I'm going to turn it over. Bill Hunt, John Bennett, the joy of collecting.
I love David. David's the most wonderful person in the world, as is John Bennett. Okay, so here we go. I used to be the education committee. We did not have meetings because I was it. And at the Hilton Hotel, do the next slide, please.
7 odd years ago, more or less.
Pull your mic up, closer.
27 years ago, Bill had a panel called The Joy of Collecting. And at that time, I was literally a nobody in the photo world. After 20 minutes, my life changed drastically. I started traveling the world, eating better canapes, the only reason to go out of your house. And people recognized me and constantly harassed me because they thought I was a fetish for collecting photography. I've seen that tape.
You were a fetish for it?
Oh, yes, because I loved it so much. And I made photography collecting, as someone said, I made it personal. I may offend a few people today, but I made it very personal because I talked about collecting on such a basic level. And that level was ripping pages out of periodicals and magazines and pasting them to your wall. The first collection you built was a collection that exposed your dreams.
So show the next picture, please. Okay, so it's like 6 people, and it's too many people for an hour. And I'm last, and he's second to the last, and we're running out of time. And I go, I know this is not going to work out. So it's taken me 27 years to get that time back. So this one shows this picture by Sally Gall and said something that was so stunning that he made people weep. I was so angry at him. But so talk about this picture, please.
You want me to talk about this
you're the
picture?
one that said it.
I don't remember what I said. But
you said you bought it because...
Oh, that phrase.
That one, yeah.
Oh, they cried a lot during the evening, and they laughed. It was a bigger crowd. But one of the things was...
John's only used to doing hotels. So
I lived in the South. So maybe this is a political picture. Someone touched on it right. I lived in the South of the 40s and 50s. And if you know anything about the South of the 40s and 50s, probably even now, it's going back again. But there was I live inland, so there was no swimming pools available to me. There were no beaches or anything like that. So I dreamt of water. I dreamt of vast spaces of water. And there was a second picture. At the time, to get the conversation going, there was a second picture by a guy named Tom Burrell of the Atlantic Ocean. And the two of them together was my great response to seeing masses of water. This particular picture hangs across from my bed. I wake up to it every morning. It's filled with grace. And one of the things that I like about it, there's a duality to it. Is it a piece of silk thrown across a counter, or is it this frozen wave? Bill put this in a show called Grace, and I've titled my collection The Grace Collection. Is that enough about that picture?
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
did
Thank you.
curate it into a show, and I thought Grace was the
I think
perfect name.
I think it's full of grace.
Yes, all of them.
But it just blew the room apart. So, and I told Sally that she was here the other day, and I said, "Oh, I'm showing that picture." And so she's not here. That's good. Can we do the next one? Okay, next.
1992. Okay.
Okay, so this is me. I have two collections, really, probably more than two, but one is magical, heart-stopping images of people in which you do not see their eyes, and the other one is American groups before 1965. And I tell people I'm not collecting anymore, as he says, walking around with a bag with a picture in it. This is a snapshot that I don't know where it came from, whatever. It sort of showed up one day in this page I'd done with snapshots that I was showing in Amsterdam. And I fell in love with this picture because it's me. That's me looking at the world and looking at photographs and being really pretty innocent and unspoiled. And now I've used it as a signature image for this writing. I've been doing a lot of writing. So if you go on my website, which is wmhunt.com, and then you go to something called Some Really Good Ones, I wrote this series of essays called Great Photographs, or at least Some Really Good Ones, because they're not all that great. They're really good. And I just love this because it's so romantic and it's so unspoiled, and I love walking into a room and just being thrilled by a picture. It's just an unbeatable sensation. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, wow, it's great. I bought a picture yesterday that did that, so it's good.
No, temptation.
So no idea who did it or when, and don't need to. It's fine. Next, please. And the one after that.
This is one of the few times the public gets a chance to see my collection. It's taken by a young photographer I met after speaking at AIPAD named Matthew Pillsbury. It is called The American Idol. The trick behind the picture is the exposure is the time of one TV program or one computer section. That's where all the light comes from. I actually put my TV in the corner for a particular reason because I love the idea of an all-seeing eye. And if you look very carefully, you will see me pop up because the exposure is so long. You'll see my glasses. You'll even see my pajamas. You wouldn't believe I'm wearing them, but I'm wearing black clothing on a black sheet. I wanted to be present and not present at the same time. When I originally was asked to do this show with Bill, I was going to show all the photographs in this picture. The great thing about getting it down to 5 photographs was I had to edit a theme. I would like for no one, the problem is, this is amazing. Most of my photographs are still in the brown wrapping paper that they arrived in from the gallery. I was talking to Bill about desire and possession. I can desire a photograph, but once I have it, I don't want to see it again because it's already in my memory. And one of the things I would like to walk away from most photographs and then I buy them. It's like having a girlfriend living in your house or whatever. You know, it's just, they're there in the morning. And you have to dust them. You have to take care of them. You have to give them things. So I leave them in the brown wrapping paper, the bubble wrap, and I dream about them when the need comes. This is very true. I mean, Bill has thousands of photographs. I have a couple of hundred. And let me tell you, you don't want to see them all the time. You desire them, but once you possess them, it's like you only have an anniversary once a year. So I wish I could tell you what most of them are, but it doesn't matter. Those are family pictures above the TV and the little silver frames. This is a TV there. And my family pictures, which are priceless. I don't like my family. Again, I love the idea of them being around. So I look at them every morning too. They're so cute. Anyway, that's me. Yes, there's a lot of pillows on my bed, and my life is like that. Bill said that his photographies are like a home that protects him. Was that what you said? You were saying like you build a shell to put
Doesn't
yourself
sound
in.
like me, but sure.
Yeah, it was you.
If it-
Last
if
2
it's-
weeks ago. But anyway, that's that one. Next
So-
one, please.
So the best question I ever got asked about collecting, had a little show, and I was doing kids one day, and they were like 14, and this kid says to me, he says, "Well, why do you have to own them?" And it just blew my mind, this question, because I went, oh my God, what a great question. So the answer is, because then they're mine. I went, well, aren't you the most superficial thing to walk down the... But like you, they're put away, and they live in this, like, database. I used to say Rolodex, but people don't know what that is anymore. Database that plays through my head that I go like, so even the ones that I no longer have still have currency with me because they live, they're mine. Okay, so this is me. This is a combination of things. So I did a book, hang on. I did a book which is, as of now, out of print because I bought the last 80 copies the other day. So Aperture, this is the Aperture version of it, and it was done by Thames and Hudson and Act Sud. I'm not very ironic in French, I discover. That's a joke, please. Anyway, so that's the cover. This is the American edition. So this is a picture by Carrie Levy. Hey, shut up. Hey, I got a show going on here. Thank you. So Gerald Sloda is a photographer who I love and have known for a very long time, who changed my life in many ways. I actually became a photography dealer because his dealers tried to sell me a picture, and I thought it was too expensive, so I actually went to work there so I could get a discount on the picture years later. So Gerald sets this up. So that's me over what we used to describe as the AIPAD couch, because I used to bring that to AIPADs. And we thought that was very funny and sweet and funny. And so that's Gerald's writing. And I use this as a poster for a talk I used to do called A Life and Other Digressions. Is that what it says? Yeah. A Life in Photographs and Other Digressions. And so Gerald has evolved over the years. I've spent time doing one of these little books. So I did this little book a couple of years ago about Gerald and Bill, two narcissists walk into a bar. And I'm happy to send you the PDF if you'd like. You just have to find me and make the request, and then I'm happy to send it along. I love Gerald. He's so unpredictable and good, and please, some major gallery, come and represent him and get him off my hands. You like Gerald?
Yes, I like Gerald.
Oh, that's
and
what
actually,
what
Gerald
an endorsement,
Instagrammed me the other
endorsement.
day.
You what?
And he Instagrammed me the other day a message that he thought I had taken a wonderful picture. Shocked the hell out of me. I was going to say another word. Shocked me because I think he's a photographer. My Instagram page is me messing around with an iPhone. But he actually liked a very simple photograph.
Tell people your name, your nom de la photographie.
Hashtag Mr. Bennett with an E on the end. It's fun. It's delightful. I'm walking around town.
What's your French name?
Mr. Bennett.
No.
What's
Le
your
flaneur.
Oh, the flaneur, because I walk around town. I eat a lot. Trust me, I live in pastis. But, yes.
Let's do you now.
Next one. Oh, yeah.
Are you surprised it's here?
Here's the funny thing. When I first spoke, everyone kind of complained that I like pretty pictures. Yes, I do. Watch my Instagram account. I like beauty. I like the world to be a beautiful place. I struggle with the idea of what to wear because I want other people to be happy when I approach them. So this is one of the tough pictures in my collection. It's centered around an event. But before I go there, I'd like to say that Bill suggesting that I only choose 5 photographs was a major thing for me because I'd rather bring them all here and flash them in your face very quickly and say nothing. But the 5 photographs I chose today have to do with mortality. The idea that time changes, photography never can capture more than a moment of it. Usually that moment may not be exactly what we think it is. When I saw this photograph, I thought of a Renaissance painter. I think it was Giotto. Giotto, is that his correct name?
Giotto.
Giotto, whoever. Anyway, he did these wonderful paintings, and they have angels in them. And the angels do not look like they're flying. They actually look like they may be falling down or they're flying in the wrong direction. But a lot of the art I collect is inspired by Western religious paintings. And this reminded me of Giotto or whatever. And it's actually called The Falling Man by Stan Getz. It is a recreation of one of the images that was published in the New York Times of someone falling out of the World Trade Center. I'm not concerned usually with technique, but he drew the image on a negative before he printed it, and it's from a series called the Ash series. And all the toning and the drawing, the printing, is done using ashes from the World Trade Center. So it reminds me of an angel. It reminds me of a wacky something, but in my innermost being, I know it is from that moment. I normally don't think of this kind of photo as, it's just a memory for me because I work on Wall Street at the time. And so it's very hard for me to tell you what I think about it, but it was very important that I show you this photograph. And by the way, don't look at my hands. I talk with my hands and it's just distracting. Stan Getz, Falling Man, I think it's 2001, 2002, 2000, we'll see in a second. But that's it, enough said. I don't want to make you all sad, but enough said. So
Too late, John. You blew it already. Everybody's just weeping again. Let's do the next
2007, so that's you.
That's me. The Falling Man, another time I'll tell you about my Falling Man picture, because that's a big deal picture. And the idea, well, I will talk about it, because there are certain photographs that, like that one, the Stan Getz, and I've got a lot of pictures in my collection that it's not decoration. Oh, the word for today, children, is numinous. I like the idea of numinous because numinous means holy, spiritual. And I think with both of us, the photographs are incredibly meaningful and nurturing and have a part in our lives that's spiritual. And so this will segue into Liz Nielsen, who's contemporary. And I was in a show one day, and that thing happens when you go like, what? What is going, oh my God. So Yossi Milo had a group show, and Liz is in it. She had like 3 huge one-of-a-kind images. So this is all darkroom stuff. And floored, just great, great stuff. And not something that I'm gonna collect, because it's not no eyes or something. And I called her up. I found her and I said, who are you? And let's have coffee. So we started dating. And, you know, you get to a point in this business with photographers, you bug them long enough, they give you the damn picture, and that's great. So it's called, I have a bear fetish. You have your fetish. So this is called like Bear Moon. It's called something else from that. But took a while, but it's in the dining room. And there's this funny story, I think, that my sister-in-law walks in one day and she goes, I didn't know you were collecting circles. And I went, circles? I'm not collecting circles. She goes like, well, look. I went, no. This is the cosmos. It's much more than a damn circle. These are faces. This is everything. It's all here in this picture. So I love Liz. I love the picture. I love the relationship with an artist. So you have this with artists, yes, and
Yes.
with Gerald and people like that. It's fun.
You do.
Many of my artist friends here today. I'm happy to include in my life. So Liz Nielsen, she now shows with Miles McEnery, and she is great. Okay, take it away, John.
Okay.
Moon 5, Bear.
I do hope you go to my Instagram post because I had to edit so many pictures out. But I have a photograph that I actually bought from Bill's gallery that's sort of a compliment to your moon piece.
Yes.
But it was on the cutting room floor. But go to my Instagram page, and I wrote about 4 paragraphs about what the picture represents to me. This picture by Fred Weber is a photograph from an artist whose work I did not like in the very beginning. It is also from an exhibition, I think Bill's first big curatorial job for his first gallery. And he did a show called Delirium, which was later an Aperture catalog. Was it Aperture catalog? Yeah.
It was a seasonal issue.
There's a Japanese movie out called Rashomon. In it, things are told from many, many perspectives because there are many, many perspectives to the truth. And when I first saw this photograph, I thought of a black woman singing in church on a Sunday morning. The idea of singing and singing lifting you up to God is sort of phenomenal. Too bad Aretha Franklin died. But I saw this as this woman singing in church. And I've come back to it many times. In fact, before Bill had the show, but after I saw the photograph, I realized maybe this woman was screaming in pain from abuse. So I've always sat on the fence about the possibility of what this photograph represents. She could be experiencing the light of God's love, but she also could be suffering and screaming in pain.
I subscribe to the notion that the really great photographs have a secret in them. They also have balance, but the really great ones have something in them that you cannot actually decode. And I own this picture too, and it's always had, you don't need to know. It's whatever you want it to be in the moment, and it can be all those things in the moment. There's a story about a Weston picture that I bought, which is Neil sleeping, and it's a picture of his grandson or son on a couch, and he's got his forearm over his eyes. And I met the grandson once, and I said, I've got your granddad's picture. I think it's a later print, but I've got it. And he said, my father had migraine headaches. Fuck me, God damn it. He just changed the picture for me in an instant because it was about something specific. And I didn't need to know or want to know. So don't tell me what they are.
It happens.
I've always thought that, I never thought of it as a woman. I never thought of it racially. for me, it was always the white in the eyes and the mouth and that kind of void, that distance, that unknowable something. But I do believe that it's a real primal cry for something.
Very. And what I intuitively feel that it's a woman.
I think it looks like a woman, too.
Yeah, but also there's just this thing that one of the things that Bill mentioned earlier is that you don't realize until it's just, do I have this hang? No, this is wrapped in brown wrapping paper. I have like 9 images by this artist who create, this is all from one body of work. And I can't look at it.
So any woman who ever is invited for dinner at John's house, you'll know what to wear. It's brown wrapping paper. Can we do the next one, please? So this is, I don't know what this is. It's fire engineers. It's 19th century. It's not important to me what it is, except that it is. And this second collection emerged and then got some energy, and I'm very keen on it. And I think this collection, which is groups, is different from the other collection. That the other was, one was very right brain and the other is very left brain. And the first one was very intuitive, and this is graphic, and people say, oh, you must love looking at all the little faces, and my response is I can't really see the little faces, so no, I like the music, I like the jazz, I like it. So the story about this picture, though, is that I've had it framed and got it home, and I found that I was going into the space with the photographs, and I was dancing with this picture at night, or sort of the end of the afternoon. I would find that I was in my office, and I would just rock back and forth with this damn picture. And I went, oh, this is so good and special and weird. There's a detail in this picture that you can almost see. So there's some stuff going on the top right, which is the picture's falling apart or something. I don't know, the fix or whatever. But I think it's the rapture, and that these people are all being subsumed into the next dimension. Maybe that's what it is for me. Thanks. What do you think, John?
I think they're all sitting there waiting.
They probably are.
Anticipation.
They all have luggage tags on, which I think is really strange.
Anticipation. This photograph has a great story behind it. But before I tell the story, because the story is about desire, I used to teach a class many years ago. The class became a cult. Today, someone is in this room who can testify to this moment. One of my students was going to buy 3 photographs by Bill Burke in Cambodia. And he came to me, and I said, for the price that you're paying for those photographs, you know, you could buy 2 photographs and take the other money and go to wherever else, you know, and experience what the photographs are about. So there are times when I say, don't buy photographs, live life. But while I was teaching that class, I was in a dealer's home with my students, and this photograph by Fan Ho, who recently passed away in the past 5 years, was on the wall. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. The dealer, who was dealing privately at the time, would not tell me who made the photograph. I saw this photograph as this lone man walking, and all of these posters, which are in China, by the way, were trying to get off the wall and fly down and gobble him up. The loner walking the streets in the night waiting for the monster. Eventually, quite by coincidence, and because of my reputation from being at AIPAD 30 years ago, I met the artist who asked me to write the introduction for his book. Now, you all are out there listening to me talk. Do I sound like I speak English? No. But I got a chance to write the introduction for his book, and I got the photograph as a gift. It's in brown wrapping paper. I still love it. It still makes my heart beat when I think about it. When I can find it and think about it, it still makes my heart beat. It's not an imposing photograph. It's just a photograph that pleases me. And like my student did take the money and go. I think he had a great trip. Thank you. Oh, and he planned his trip looking at photo books of Southeast Asia, which I thought was wonderful. That's it.
Cool. Can we do
Van Hout.
next? So this class that John taught at the new school was I gave him this class because I taught this class about how to collect for like 2 years, and I hated it. I just hated it. I finally, because I thought everybody in it just wanted permission to buy it. I go like, okay, I give you permission to buy it. Just commit, for goodness sake. Oh, these people just, your experience was obviously very different from mine, but
We loved them.
they
loved me.
It was just,
Which is important.
it was like
too.
endless
You know them all.
endless foreplay, and I said, let's get to it. So I'm glad you had fun with that class, and that was a cult. You would see John show up with these people, and they took that class year after year. It was really,
That's when it became depressing for me, because I had to get better every year.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
a-
I started saying, I'm going to Paris. We'd all go to Paris. I mean, it was like frightening. But I love them all, still do today.
I don't believe you that it was frightening. I think
It was
I think it was
frightening.
exhilarating.
Yeah, walking on a tightrope can be two things, frightening and exhilarating.
It's true. Okay, so this is a picture by Ramel Ross, who had a show at Pace this year, recently, last few months, with William Christenberry. And Ramel Ross teaches at Brown, and I'd seen this in the paper, something like that, or a magazine. And I went to see the show, and a thing happened that hadn't happened in 40 years. I was just bowled over by it. I thought, this guy, this is good. This is a real project. He's really grounded, and it's a project about going back to Hale County, Alabama, and basing the project on what he was seeing there. They're really well done. He's a thinker too. He had done this crazy conceptual piece where he had himself shipped either north or south. So I will say that it was more money than I was going to spend, and also I'm in the business now of deaccessioning the collection of the magical pictures, and yet I got such enormous pleasure out of this picture. That thing where you just like, I can remember Pace had a Mizrach show years ago, and I must have gone to see that show 7 times because there was this big, when he was doing the reversal pictures, where he was taking color pictures and flipping the values, and there was this photograph that was huge, and I would just go dance in it and go, I have no idea really what he's doing, but I was so enthralled, intoxicated, drunk with it. Great picture. So this is Ramel Ross. He's the real deal. So, but it made me go back and look at the very first picture I bought, which was an Imogen Cunningham, and a picture that actually I had before that, and then it lined up all these photographs I'd bought over the years that have this real simplicity and directness to them. So I like that. Anyway, thanks for letting me show it. Okay.
I'm going to be silent for about You're probably saying, God, the boy can be silent. Anyway, I'm going to be silent for a few seconds so you can use your eyes and take in this photograph. Okay, enough of that. As I said before, my collection reflects a spirituality that's very about time. And the first photograph of me in my collection, or me in my bed with some of my collection, was taken over an hour. This photograph is another variation on time moving. It's someone looking at a bunch of Picasso photographs. There's about 90 pictures in a book. The images by Doug Keyes. It's in color. It's when we first started collecting, you know, you always kind of go toward the little black and white 8x10. So much has changed in making photography. I'm looking at a photographer now who does artificial intelligence photos. They're bizarre and they're fascinating, but they're disturbing, not because they're great, it's because I could just see them as big posters, but you're fascinated by them. This is about 16 by 20, and what it does, it tricks your eye to move around the page. And each time your eye gets to a certain point, you can see or think you see the entire image. I have a couple of Doug Keyes' work, but as I said, for me, it's about movement of time. It's the big blue eye, but you know, you can figure this out. I mean, again, it's in brown wrapping paper. But one of the things Bill talked about when he's looking at the photograph that preceded, about it reminded him of the first photograph he bought, and I have to ask you a question. Was that the woman in the veil? Yeah, I knew it immediately. You know, it's amazing what you can remember even at our old ages. But love this photograph. I loved everything that Doug Keyes has done because most of his photographs are about him looking at books. What were not books wonderful? Sitting there leafing through them when you were a kid. I mean, I love leafing through magazines still. Bill and I both rip pictures out. We have a ripped picture box that we save. I do, you do.
It's more like a room. Answer David Scheinbaum's question, if you can, about why do you collect photographs?
I have nothing better to do with my time. and not a lot of money, but no. Why do I collect them? Because they're like a scrapbook of me. Some of them reveal too much. I happen to like looking at people's bodies. I'm fascinated by John Copeland, but you don't have the time to look at people. You have to be discreet. Photography, my collection hides a lot of my secrets. My photographs, most of them are very simple and formalistic, but I'm messy as hell. I really wish I could be as neat as a photograph. Ain't happening. But I collect them because they make me feel. They actually speak for me. In the old days when I used to show my photographs and when I used to let people in my house, two things that don't happen anymore. You came to my house and the photographs had been rearranged. It wasn't because I needed to rearrange them. I was telling you something. You had to look at the photographs and know what they meant to me to know that you pissed me off or that you made me happy. But to me, it's a language. I don't see any photographer creating anything new. I see photography and photographers adding to a continual conversation. They make me feel warm and comfortable, even though I don't see them. I prefer to remember them more than I think I do handling them. I had someone in my house, and actually they dropped one of my photographs, a very expensive photograph, and the emulsion cracked. Photographers are like having children. You can't wait for them to be 18, and you can kick them out of the house. Is that what I told you that time?
No.
Probably told you something sweet and nice.
I can remember within the first 15 years of collecting, and there weren't so many pictures because you could buy photographs because I didn't have a lot of money, but you could buy photographs because they weren't that expensive. So that you could be like a big deal for not much money. And I'd been in analysis. That cost a lot of money. But so I did an analysis, and there were like a dozen pictures in the living room scattered around. And I was stoned. And I'm looking at the pictures, and I went, oh, my God, this is my unconscious manifest. It was the story of me, and I didn't know that. And it creeped me out because I thought anyone with any wit at all would walk into my living room and know everything about me. But it turns out people are stupid. No offense, but they didn't get it. So, and I ultimately found that discovery to be empowering, because then when I turned 50, I bought Joel Peter Whitkin's Man Without Head.
Oh,
I saw this picture. It's the decapitated nude man, and I saw this picture, and I went like, oh my God. No. You cannot make this picture. You cannot have this picture. If I owned this picture, I would be powerful. So I bought it, and I am. So there you go. Tips.
And
for
what did I
survival.
say about
What's-
that picture?
Everybody said everything. What did you say?
Oh, it's a naked man without a head.
There you go. What's next?
But,
Oh, okay.
okay. First of all, I should go back to the naked man. One of the things Bill and I have in common, I think, are photographs where when you look at them, they're very formal. You know, there's a subject, and it's like smack dab in the middle.
In the middle.
And you kind of notice there's nothing a lot going on around the edges. You're first looking. And they're usually, we've changed so much because basically I have photographs that don't even look like photographs anymore, and they're not necessarily black and white. This is my inspirational photograph. It's done by a sort of well-known but minor-known artist named Consuela Kanaga. It's called Gardenia in a Glass. Loved it. When I first started collecting, rumor has it I only spent a couple of $100 per photograph. And at the time, this photograph cost $1,000. $1,000 is a lot of money to pay for a piece of paper. I can understand why people do that. When I could rip this out of a magazine. And for years, I have desired this photograph. It has all the things I love. It's a formal situation. It's a simple glass and a simple camellia. It's a camellia. And people have always talked about how pretty it was, and botanicals have no importance in life. Look at this camellia. It screams about one of my favorite spiritual themes in my collection, the idea of the passing of time, the idea that we all will not be here tomorrow, and only this photograph captures the moment. The beautiful white camellia with the dewdrop on the leaf looked like Anna Whitner photographed it. I had a commission for Vogue. See that little, it's just gorgeous. But here's the thing. The flower is dying in front of our eyes. And we may have to visit this photograph 10 or 15 times before we notice along the edges over there, it's dying. I never bought it, always desired it. Went to auction 2 weeks ago to put a bid on it. But it is the ultimate photograph for me. I love it so. Don't need to have it.
I've always wondered for myself, I did have an ultimate photograph, which was an Irving Penn. The Two Gudras picture was, for me, the ultimate picture. And I bought it once for more money than I'd ever spent. And it's still the best picture I ever had my hands on. Oh my God, it was like going into some magical place that just beckoned me forward. And I sold it. I'm okay, because I can remember it really good. That's the show, kids. Do we have another slide?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Well, we can
would
make
welcome
jokes for the next 20 minutes.
questions. Any questions? Ma'am, rise up and shout it out.
I think we'd all agree that our lives are enriched by photographs, and that the most powerful photographs represent our desire, eros, and longing for some divine experience. Here's my question. Is there a place for both of you for collecting documentary photography within your collections? And what would be a good example of what that photograph means to you?
Excuse me, I have one question. Did you read that off a piece of paper?
Well, I wanted to make sure I got it right.
Okay, I just want to be sure because we do everything freehand here. You know, I was a little stunned.
No, I have no idea what the question was.
The question was, have we ever considered buying documentary photography? Is that correct?
Yeah, my question is, do you have an example in your collections of a documentary photograph?
Yes, I do.
And I do too. I got lots of them. For years, I was on the board of the W. Eugene Smith Memorial Fund that has a grant for documentary photojournalists for an ongoing project. And I love those pictures, and I've got lots of them. And when I opened a gallery, I opened with an exhibition of the photographers from Seven, the photo agency. Nobody does that, but I did it because I thought they were really vital, valuable. It doesn't have to be pretty. You should be engaged. The good ones just engage you in a way that you're just so surprised by how forceful it can be. That doesn't happen very often. That's very, very rarely that a great photograph will come into your eye. But oh my God, that's fun. And very often it happens with documentary stuff. And so I've got lots. I've got press prints. I got stuff, baby. I got stuff. I've got The Falling Man. We both have The Falling Man. And that's fairly, I describe it as an impossible picture. There are certain photographs in my collection that are impossible, like The Headless Man. You go like, no, you don't get to make that picture or show it or own it. And I like those as impossible pictures. So,
I have some documentary work in my collection. Most of it centers around the civil rights movement. But I also have some images from the Vietnam War. You can find a good photograph almost anywhere. No, I will say good photograph, not great photograph. But I happened to be at the 26th Street Flea Market, and there was a damaged photograph. It was during the holidays, and of a Vietnam woman holding a baby. And I was looking for something mother and childish. Don't ask me why. It's a thing. I'm very religious. I'm very Catholic, icon orientated. I can see a lily, and I can tell you Annunciation. The symbolism to me is total. So there's this picture of a woman holding her child from Vietnam that was used in print, in press, and I bought it. I think I paid $10 for it. Years later, I saw it come up for auction, not because of the price, but because of the pictures. So I just bought it blind. I don't do research. I buy something. I see something over there, I'll buy it. I don't want to know anything about anything. Just let me buy the picture and let me go away. If the knowledge of the picture's background creeps into my head unconsciously, I'm happy. So that's how I got that photograph. But how can you not? When I was teaching my class, one of my classes was make an exhibition using photographs from the newspaper. Pick a theme and just go through a newspaper and put 16 photographs together. So, yes, journalism and documentary photography is the way we know most things. Think about it. When we did the first one of these, that was a thing that I talked about, how we know things because we used to believe in the photographs we saw. We knew how people lived on the other side of the world. We knew what people looked like down the street. Now we have so much. Thank God for Instagram.
Will you join me in thanking AIPAD and the Education Committee and John Bennett, Bill Hunt. Thank you for coming this afternoon. Have a good afternoon walking around the fair.
Thank you, baby. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank Bill. Thank you for coming. Do. Thank you. Thank you.
They're the stars.
Yeah, he's. We're documenting.
That's a staged.
Hi, how are you doing, sir?